My name is Manish Chaudhry. I'm the founder and CEO of Cahoot. I'm joined with Chris at BatteryJack. Welcome, Chris. Please tell us a little bit about yourself and your company.
Yeah, so we're a small, primarily battery company based out of the Midwest, specifically Illinois. We've been in business for a little over 20 years now. My title is Operations Manager of Fulfillment, which just really means I just wear a lot of different hats. So that's why I get to have this conversation with you. But more or less, I handle the day-to-day and essentially getting all our products out the door and to the customers on time.
So you're dealing with the gory details of shipping every single day and hazmat, which is not easy. Tell us a little bit about the technology that you were using in your warehouse before you joined Cahoot. And obviously at the time, you had multiple warehouses. Tell us a little bit about the challenges that you were facing using your previous solution and what that was.
So originally before Cahoot, we had to utilize multiple different platforms to get the best rates possible. So for example, the bulk of all of our small parcel shipments we process through ShipStation, which is it a decent platform? Objectively, yes, but there's flaws, especially when you're running multiple warehouses. So for a brief time, we opened a warehouse in Florida to kind of help alleviate some of the shipping costs to that lower East Coast region. From Illinois, we ship a lot of products in that 15 to 20 pound range. And over the past couple of years, not just during COVID, but pre-COVID, rates just were astronomical. We're talking stuff that was at one point $12 to ship, was going up to $23, $20, $24. And as a small business, that's kind of hard to eat those costs. And we decided to open up a Florida location, but for a bunch of different reasons that didn't work out. And it was really hard to make that work via ShipStation because we'd have to set up like a separate shipment ID and all these different order rules to make sure the right orders were assigned. And it was just a cumbersome process, to say the least.
So how cumbersome would you say that was? I mean, how convoluted, and what all challenges that you were running when you added a second location, and how were you managing that? Can you talk a little bit about that?
So since Amazon orders and just all marketplace orders flow constantly throughout the day, and pretty much our shipping deadline on a daily basis was between 2 and 3 p.m. The time zone created a barrier for us because certain orders would have to go out from the Florida location, and if they were already closed because they're an hour ahead of us, we would have to ship them from our Illinois location, resulting in added costs for us. And then sometimes the shipping delays, especially during the seller fulfilled Prime days where you got that order, it had to go out that same day and it didn't matter the cost. Otherwise you were risking a ding to the metrics. And as all the online sellers know, metrics are the lifeblood of running an online business. So it's unfortunately something you can't just look away from. You just it's part of your everyday processes. Another issue with ShipStation is, like you said, only being really for single warehouses. We were running into like inventory constraints because we couldn't tie in our accounting software. It's not an advanced system, and for the smaller businesses, a lot of times you're priced out when it comes to Oracle or those large WMS or TMS systems. They're just too expensive to run a company profitably, especially nowadays in this economy. So yeah, I would say that's fair to say that ShipStation isn't built for a company with multiple warehouses.
Understood. So, and what was life like when you implemented or when you got on board with Cahoot and Cahoot was being used in both your warehouses simultaneously?
The first couple of weeks, it was definitely a transition because it's like, okay, now I have this extra time. What am I going to do? Because 80% of our labels pretty much from the get-go were automated. So yeah, did that come with a couple of issues here and there? Yeah, sure, because we didn't fully understand the technology side of it. But all the extra time created a litany of different opportunities for us to really understand our business processes and redefine our pricing and how to move stuff across the country both quickly and cost effectively.
Did you look at other solutions as well as you were running into these problems? I mean, other shipping software, and I know you're a very smart organization, and Chris, you are very much in the know of what exists out there. Anything else that even remotely came close to Cahoot?
No, I can't really say there was, not at the price point that we started at it. Anything that would offer even remotely similar capabilities were all, I would say, at least semi-custom built solutions. And as you might imagine, building software platforms from the ground up for specific needs is not a cheap endeavor. So no, I'd say there's not really anything else out on the market that I'm aware of that is capable of the same functions that Cahoot is.
And what percentage of your orders do you think now are automated in terms of where it doesn't require any human intervention?
I'd say about 90%, but could it be higher? Absolutely, but because of how some of our listings are set up, we have multi-packs and things like that, things that automation isn't really designed for. So, and the goal when we first transitioned wasn't to automate everything, because we prefer to have at least somewhat of a human factor in there so that we can always see what's going on, more or less. Even though it's not necessarily the most efficient, for us, it's the preferred approach.
Sure. Yeah, just having a pair of eyes just to have a second level of comfort, more of a preference. And let's also talk a little bit about, when you were doing Seller Fulfill Prime, you not only needed your 2 warehouses, but you also needed additional geographical footprint, especially on the West Coast and a few others. Talk a little bit about how Cahoot software and technology enabled you to do that.
I'd almost call it like just disruptive in a sense, because we were able to actually meet the seller fulfilled requirements. And for the longest time, we weren't at that a 99% on-time shipping rate. We were at 100, and that was almost exclusively provided to us by the services of Cahoot, because we at one point had 2 warehouses in California and 1 in New York. So we had 5 shipping locations between our own in-home, our Illinois, Florida, and then the Cahoot fulfillment centers. It just made everything click together, more or less.
I mean, again, speaking of technology, ability to augment your warehouses with the Cahoot network, was that unique and different than anything else that you saw on the market, even when you were exploring these solutions?
Are other companies that did it, but like I said, not at the price point. And because even though most of our products aren't considered hazmat by the Department of Transportation, by Amazon standards, they were. So when we first started, we weren't eligible to send products via FBA or to a lot of these other warehouses without substantial fees. And it was a hindrance on growth for us.
Last couple of questions. You've been outstanding, Chris. Thank you. What has exceeded your expectation since working with Cahoot?
I'd say postal rates, and then definitely the convergence between ShipSurance and the carriers. It does help eliminate a lot of the back and forth we have to deal with the carriers when we do have damaged products.
What advice would you have to other Octane family of products, or anybody who is using a legacy or a traditional shipping software, whether it's ShipStation, Shipping Easy, ShipWorks, Desktop Shipper? You've been in the business for over 25 years. You've kind of seen it all. What advice would you have for those SMB merchants, or even larger merchants, because the problem is probably even more magnified for the folks that have even more volume?
I'd say definitely give you guys a call and see if it would be a good fit, because I know just from all the stuff that we deal with on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis that a lot of times it's just the cheaper, the easier thing to do is to mix a bunch of different systems together instead of just pulling the trigger on one big expensive system. Where, yeah, I see the logic in that, but at the same time, Cahoot can accomplish quite a few of the different services offered by a litany of different internet service providers or e-commerce providers. So it's really worth the time just to at least hear you guys out and see if your services match their requirements.
Thank you, Chris. What do you estimate, how much time savings have you have you achieved with Cahoot compared to ShipStation? What are your thoughts?
Personally, I would say a good 15-20% on a day-to-day basis, but from a warehouse perspective, we're thinking probably closer to 35-40% over ShipStation when it comes to label creation and just shipping the products out on a day-to-day basis. More or less for the entire, we pretty much operate 8 or 9 hour days here. So I'd say more or less good 7 hours for label creation up until time to clock out and go home for the day. But with Cahoot, it's, I'd say, down to 1 or 2 hours a day.
Wow. So you would say like 6 to 7 hours a day, 6 to 7 days a week. That's almost like a full-time person that you're saving with Cahoot. Would that be an overstatement?
No, I think that would be a fair statement.
Awesome. Well, Chris, thank you so much. You've been great. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.